Hey, welcome to the Body and Soul Shop. I'm Paul Herman. Today we're going to show you how to take the front end out from under a 65 F100. Sawzalls, torch, plasma cutter, whatever. There's several ways to take it out, and I don't say that any of them's 100% the right way, whatever. So let's get with it. Okay, so this was the old steering box mount. This is the inner structure that was in behind here, giving it reinforcement stuff. And pretty hard piece to get out, so I just used the cutting torch and cut it out, rough cut it to get it out of the way, so I can get in here and clean all this up. Like I said, you can use a plasma cutter, you can use a cutting torch, which we us old timers called it a smoke wrench. So, and a sawzall. A lot of times we use cut-off wheels to get in there and cut up the old welds and stuff like that. But this thing's just about ready to drop out. I got about 2 seconds of sawzall, and it's going to drop out, and then you'll be able to see what all we got to get out of here to clean up the frame inside to get it ready to put the new Crown Vic front end under it. So this is the Crown Vic front end that we have. I want to say thank you to YK Malachi for dropping it off at my door. We just assembled it, glass bead blasted the cradle and all the small parts, repainted everything. We just clear coated the cradle. Everything else has been painted really super nice, and we're getting ready to put it in. So we'll show you that as we go along the process with it. So like I said, we torched out the steering box mount. I used my sawzall to cut 99% of the cradle. So I'm going to use a torch just to cut this last little piece out of it, and we'll drop the cradle out, and then you can see what all we got to do to get in here and clean up the inside of the frame rails. Acetylene, oxygen. Just like that. One of the most difficult things about this is the rivets. Rivets inside of the frame rails. They're under a lot of the mounts and everything, so it's difficult sometimes to get them things out. You either got to grind the head off or torch it off or whatever. Get in there with an air chisel and drive the rivets out. And sometimes they can be really cantankerous. Like they've been in there for since 1965, so they're pretty tough. That's one of the hardest challenges, is getting in here, cleaning stuff out that is welded in from the factory, just getting all that cleaned up where we can get it out of there. So, you know what they say, patience is a virtue, kind of like when I was straightening that wheel well out, just a little bit to a time. So we'll get in here and just dissect this and get it out, and then we'll start the installation of the new front end. So we did a lot of measuring and cross measuring to make sure that the front end was in here square. Our wheelbase on this particular truck was 129 center to center. That means from the center of the rear axle to the center of the front hub was 129 inches. So that's what this mark on the frame is for. That lets me know my center point, and we'll work off of that immensely. Obviously you got to sweep the floor like 20 times because all this crap that's been in there for all these years starts coming out, and it's a mess. So I usually just stop and sweep it up several times and get it out of my road so I'm not rolling in it. Okay, so this is the front lower part of this bulkhead for the bed. As you can see, it was really rotted off. So what we did was measure up from the base up to this line right here, cut it off, and we're going to refabricate that and weld a new piece in. Now the inside is also just ate up. And unfortunately, you can get a repair panel for the bed, but it's not 100% accurate on the ribs. So we're going to have to doctor that a little bit, but it's the best that we can find, and I can't find a floor for this thing anywhere. Nobody seems to reproduce one. So we're going to do what we got to do to make it happen. Okay, so this is the front lower section that was down in here, and as you can see, it was really rotted too. It's also a floor brace, which once again we can't actually get that piece that I can find anyway, so we will fabricate our own up. These are pieces of the reproduction, and like I said, the ribs they're not 100% matched. They're a little bit, the reproductions are a little bit narrower. So we're going to put it in the front and come up underneath and weld it in solid that way, and that way we only have a small area to finish off with filler or whatever when it's all said and done. So this is what happens when there's like three pieces of metal put together. There was nothing protective in between it. It was put together that way from the factory. So water and moisture gets in there and it just starts rotting away and swelling and pushing, and this is what you wind up with. Okay, these bed filler pieces here on the side are very pitted. They're in pretty bad shape, so we're just going to cut them out and fabricate new pieces for that and put them in. Probably on all four corners, all four sections here, it's got corrosion going on, and we'll just take it, cut it out, and refab it, and put it in there. No big deal. So hang with us while we do that. We'll show you how it's done. So sometimes you got to get creative when you're taking something apart and you don't have a lot of help. So we use this engine puller, my cherry picker in this, and kind of balance it out. By threading this, you can adjust it back and forth, and that way I was able to get the balance of the bed just perfect, and we picked it up. And I mean, you could with one finger just handle the bed wherever you wanted to. And then we set it down on a trailer so we can roll it around real easy and do all the work on it. So just think about it. You can do creative things to make it happen for you. So now that the bed's off, it exposed the back of the cab, and so we can get in here. There's a little bit of rust down here in the bottom. We're going to have to cut out, fabricate that, put that in there. You can buy cab corners, but we'll probably just go ahead and make these. It won't take very long to do that. Several small little dents and dings in the back of the cab. A little bit of rust up in the rear window area right up in here. We'll have to cut that out and repair that. But overall, it's in pretty good shape. It's better than the average one, actually. It's a lot more solid than a lot of these are that I've seen. Okay, so it's been a couple hours since you last saw me. Since then, I've got all the excess reinforcement stuff out of the frame. It's all cleaned up. Now what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll weld all the extra holes up that I'm not going to use, so that's all nice and smooth. And then I will box the back part of the frame up to where the Crown Vic front end is, and I may go even in front of that. Now one thing that I didn't mention earlier, before I start cutting all this apart, I welded a 3/4 inch solid bar in the front here, just kind of tacked it in place. That way the frame wouldn't move side to side on me. And I cross measured and everything, and it was all good. Everything was on spec. So like I said, right now we're all cleaned up, we're ready to go, and probably tomorrow I'll start fitting the Crown Vic parts up in there and getting them ready to go in place.